Good morning, friends. I'm Tanya the SABLE Stitcher, and welcome to my cross stitch channel. I have so many new subscribers in this last week. I want to thank you all for watching and being here with me, and to all of my subscribers who were here from before and watching me again this week. I love you so much for deciding to spend your time with me every week. Now, my channel is a little bit different from others, so to my new viewers, I don't have a whole lot of whips, but I do have a whole lot of progress. First of all, I want to thank Angie, the tiny house stitcher, for returning my shout out last week. I didn't expect for her to do that. She is so sweet. She really is a very lovely lady. I'll put her down below in the description box again. But I also want to talk just a little bit about another floss tuber. She's a new floss tube to me. Her name is Roberta. She stitches primitive and samplers. She was very enjoyable to watch. I saw her the first time, I believe, on Monday. I came across her in my feed and I really loved it. She has some gorgeous stitching and just really fun to watch and listen to as I was sitting there stitching away on my own projects. So if you like primitives and sampler stitching as well, go ahead and check out her channel. You will like it. So I'll put her down in the description box below also. Okay, so let's head right over into the stitching of what I did in this last week. I did quite a bit, but I have some stuff to show you after that. So let's get started. Okay, so let's start with the stitch alongs. Okay, so Flea Market baskets. For April, it was these top 3 baskets here. 1, 2, and 3. So I picked this up and I was like, oh my gosh, I was so grateful it was not gingham again. Because I tell you, that gingham, that was not my friend last month. So this is how that is looking. I have finished the April section of this and did my 3 baskets up there. Okay, so there has been some discussion on how about to go stitching this part, because if you're stitching it the January, February, March, April sections in the order like I've been doing, you had this middle gingham section, and then so where do you start when you go to do these baskets? Okay, and so are you outlining the outer gingham and then doing that to count off of, or how are you going to do it? But as I just said a second ago, this outer gingham, we are not on speaking terms right now. So there was no way I was going to stitch any more of that this month. I needed a break. I mean, I'm just going to tell it how it is. So how I went to go and do these is I took my chart. Here's my chart. And I put it upside down like this. Okay. And then I took my fabric in my Q-snap and I put it like this. Okay. So what I did was I stitched the way that I normally stitch, except for I went like this with my chart and my fabric upside down, because I don't want to, this left it the least amount of counting, like it was like right there, and my stitches look the exact same way whether I stitch right side up or upside down. And so this is something that I do all the time. I do it whatever way creates the least amount of counting for me, because it minimizes the mistakes. But that is what I did, because if I didn't want to outline with that gingham, then you got to count all the way up here to the top, and that's kind of a little bit of a ways, and hope that you don't mess up, So that's the way that I did it. I went upside down and I went, and so yeah, that was my strategy on that. Okay, and so then I did the next section on my Nutcracker Village. Now this is by Cottage Needleworks. I am not using the called for fabric. The called for is a 32 count raw silver linen. I am using an 18 count raw linen aida because that was what was in my stash already. So that is what I went with. And it looks just as good. I'm stitching this with 2 threads. My back stitch is all in 2 threads also. I decided to do that because the holes on this are really big and it just looked better. Now when I got into the ice cream parlor here, this is what I did this week. There's some little back stitches on that little cherry on the middle ice cream and on the waffle cones. It just looked weird if I did it with 2 threads, so I did that back stitch with only just 1. But that is what I did on this, and so April is finished on Nutcracker Village. There we go. So that makes me very happy that I've got both of my stitch alongs done for April, and that will leave me with more time for the focus projects. Okay. Now the next one up is not a focus project, it's a long-term, but it's a Heaven and Earth design by Sheena Pike is the artist. And my goal for the year is 20% on this. I'm doing pretty well in keeping up with where I need to be for that. And next year for 2023, it will become a focus project and it will be a finish in 2023. But for now, it's more of a side project. I work on this about once a week. And here's where it's at. So there we go. I finished the rainbow this week. And so now we're heading into the sky. Now this I'm stitching on an 18 count easy grid aida. I went with 18 count aida because I'm currently living in a camper and the lighting is somewhat sketchy and unreliable. It just kind of is what it is. So I went with 18 count because I can work on this most of the time, whether the sun is out or not. And so that is why I went with this size fabric. Now these blue lines, those are the outlines of my pages. I work off of hard copies, and so having that physical line on top of, you know, the 10 by 10 grids, that is a visible reference for me to look at on, you know, when I'm crossing over with pages. It's just, I found that it helps me a lot when I'm doing this. And this is 2 threads full cross. And so there we go on to that. I'm very happy with how this is looking so far. Okay, next up is my I can't see anything, so I'm going to stitch on this project. Here we go. Here he is. This is my American Deer. And this is an 11 count stamped kit that I found off of Amazon. And this week I did this red stripe here and I put in some of this bottom stripe. And so once I have that finished, I'll just have the bulk of his body here. And as you can kind of tell, there's only like 4 or 5 colors in this whole area. So that's going to be a whole lot faster when I get to that. But look at that. I'm hoping for a finish on him this month. I might not make it, but if I don't, he's going to be really close, you guys. I'm super ecstatic for this. Yeah, I love him. Okay, now I know you all wanted to know my long dog sampler pandemic. Okay, and so as I kind of been talking about, my lighting is not that good in here. I probably should have planned to start this like maybe in the summer when there was more sun. But this is only my 2nd spring here in Arkansas. And I had been living in California for the last 20 years where it's sunny like 98% of the time. And it's not like that here. In this last week, we've had rain. We've had snow. And I'm like, really? Really? Enough with the snow already, people. And we also had tons and tons of wind. So I only got like 2 days to stitch on this again this week. But you know what? I have a strategy for that now. But anyhow, this is where I got on this. Here's where it at. Let me see if I, okay, there we go. This is almost too big for me to show you the whole thing on here anymore. Okay, so I finished this this band here. I only had it like a little bit less, it was like up here last time, and I've got that all the way done. And all of this, it was like there, and so it was like chink, chink. So I did a pretty decent sized chunk this week. Now my fabric is a 28 count Haunted Lugana by Picture This Plus. And my floss is, I always forget, DMC 3756. And those little butterflies up in there, that little right there, those are DMC 647. No particular reason for that color. That just happened to be a gray that was right in front of me, so that's what I used. You could put any color in there. And all of my backstitch on this is 2 strands. No particular reason for that other than I do my backstitch as I go on this, and it's just easier for me to do it with 2 than it is with 1, because I may or may not be a little bit lazy, and that's just the way that it is. So you could go either way on that, 1 strand or 2 strands. I'm doing mine with 2, and I like the way that it looks, so I'm gonna keep going with that. But yeah, there we go. And there's the whole thing all together. I'll be taking a picture of this and putting it on my Instagram, since that hasn't had an update with the whole deal all together in like 2 weeks, maybe like 2.5 weeks. So before I put this back in my Q-snap, that's what I'm going to be doing. But it's looking really good. I just can't see it all of the time because it's on a dark fabric. Not that good of planning for me on, you know, this time of the year. But to deal with that, I started Land That I Love by Teresa Kogut. Okay, and so let me show you where I got on that. Here it is. It's looking very lovely. Yes, okay. I was a little bit worried about this lighter color. It's DMC 712 Cream. In person, it shows up just fine. I'm really happy with it. I also asked my husband about it because he's colorblind, but he really likes my patriotic stitching stuff. And so I did make sure and ask him. I was like, can you see that? Because if you can't see that, I'll change it to, you know, like white or B5200. But he can see it, and so I'm fine with that. This is a 32 count Silvery Moon Lugana by Witchell, I believe. And I'm using all of the called for flosses. Now I am going to need more floss because the called for fabric is 1/2 on a 35 count. What I did was I just started off by doubling all the floss because I'm using 2 threads instead of only 1 since I'm on 32 count. And hopefully that will be enough, but if it ain't, then I might have to go and get some more. But I'm going to see how, like, you know, because not every color's going to run out, I don't think. I think only, like, you know, maybe 1 or 2 might, but we'll see how it goes. If something looks like it's getting, you know, a little bit sketchy on Floss Supply, I'll go and get another one. But that is where that's at. I didn't think that was too bad of a start. And like my unicorn poop for sale, since this is a light fabric, I can work on this whether the sun is out or not. I just can't work on it in the evenings because at that point my eyes are tired. That's when I stitch on my deer, is when the sun is not out, the sun's going down, and I'm starting to get tired, but I can stitch on him. But So yeah, my simple strategy from here on out, since I got my April stitch alongs done, is if the sun is out, I'm stitching on Pandemic. If it's not, then I'm stitching on Land That I Love. I can't go wrong with that plan, can I? I don't know. What do you guys think? Okay, so let's move ahead to the rest of what I've got to show you. Okay, so firstly, my favorites from Nashville Market releases. I did get the remainder of my stuff, except for one thing, because there was a mix-up in one of my orders. But the thing that I'm missing will be coming. I briefly talked about it in my video last week. What happened was I ended up with 2 copies of the Scrapbook Forest Part 1. Is that the exact title? I don't know. Anyhow, there's 2 parts. One by Blue Flower, and the other part by Lindy Stitches. And I have 2 of the one part and none of the other. So there was a boo-boo with my order. It is going to get fixed, but it is going to get fixed by the shop. So no worries about that. Our shops are all very, very wonderful. You just need to reach out with them whenever you've got an issue and they'll get you taken care of. No worries about that. But I'm going to talk about my favorites. But firstly, let's talk about the honorable mentions. All right. Okay. So the first one is Teresa Kogut's Newcastle Bouquet Biscornu. I had to talk about this a little bit because look how beautiful that is. This made it into my honorable mentions because it has inspired me to learn how in the world do you make a Biscornu, and something that inspires you to consider doing something new. That's a really good thing. And so, yeah. Okay, so the next honorable mention, I know you know it's coming, the cookbook. I'm sorry, I just cannot with this. There's a lot of cute little charts in here, but I can't say that's the reason that I picked this, because at the time that I pre-ordered it, I didn't even know that the charts were in there. I just know that I keep hearing all kinds of stories about how good so-and-so's dessert or whatever was at these retreats, and now, oh my goodness. I mean, part of it might be because I'm here in the camper and trying to cook anything in here is kind of, not the funnest thing to do, because our oven is like, that deep in there. You can't put anything thicker than a pizza in the oven. So there's been no casseroles or anything like that going on in here. And anything that's on the stove is basically one pot wonders, because you only got room for 1 pan to go at a time. I mean, they give you 3 burners on the stoves in here, but like there's no way you're doing 2 or 3 pans. It just doesn't work. So when we finally get into our house, I am going to actually want some real food, and I'm going to be trying some of these recipes. And this was a bargain with how many recipes in here, and because they're from normal people, normal people, designers. Our designers are normal people just like us, so there's not like any kind of weird cooking terminology or anything like that. Anybody can pick this up and know what exactly the recipe is talking about when you go to make stuff. Okay. Cooking 101 for people like me who want to eat real food like ASAP. And okay, moving on. It makes me hungry just looking at that, so I need to move on already. Okay, so let's get into my top 3 favorites on my other stuff. First up is Mercy and Grace by Sweet Wing Studio. And why is because, mercy there was great and grace was free. Pardon there was multiplied to me. Anything that makes you sing in your head, you gotta have it in your life. And I really love this song. And when I go to do this will be probably in with my Easter stuff. I love how simple that it is. And just, it makes me happy. And so this was one of my top picks. this year for Nashville Market. Okay, and then Spring Quaker by Lila's Studio. This was just, oh my gosh, the goodness. I loved everything in this chart. And as I said in my Nashville Market video, she's got a Halloween Quaker and a Christmas Quaker, both of which I already have. I finished my Halloween Quaker earlier this year. Loved every bit of it. And I have the Christmas Quaker kitted up. I don't know when I'll stitch it, but I definitely am going to. And now there's this one that will go up around Easter time. And look at, I mean, I just can't with those little bunnies. Okay, and so while I'm talking about it right now, I didn't talk about it in my last video because I had a lot to talk about in that one, you know, with the Nashville Market video. As if you have the first print run of this, page 4 and page 9 have some errors in the chart, and so she has released PDF pages to print out and replace those, because what happened was for some reason her computer didn't save one color on both of those pages, and so it's gonna be really weird if you don't have the replacement pages and you have the first print run like I do. So just go over to lilastudio.net is her website, and go over to news and updates, I believe, and she's got the pages there for you to download and print out. And I went ahead and I did that right away and just put them right in with my chart, and that'll get you taken care of. And future print runs, I would go ahead and double check those pages anyways, but they should be fixed in the future print runs, and that shouldn't be an issue. But I love her designs, and so she is forgiven by me for being human and having technical issues with her software. We love you, Lila. Oh my goodness. Okay, and then my third choice is, of course, it's Let Love Rain by Teresa Kogut. I liked every chart in this book. Okay, so let me get the pictures for those who did not see my Nashville Market video. Okay, and so there's this little one here. That is too cute. Okay, that is How Much I Love You. Okay, I forgot to have myself a thingy to cover charts up in here like I did last time. So we're gonna, and this is Let Love Rain. That is just gorgeous. And this made it onto my 2023 stitching plans list. You know, I had a person ask me in the comments last week, you know, what's your favorite? Have you already started one? And, you know, like, no, I have not started one. Oh, I need to show you the last chart in here. Hello. The last one is Love Your Family. This one is also so good. I loved all three of these. Okay, so back to, you know, what is your absolute favorite? Have you started one already? And I'm like, well, no. I'm just like, I mean, you know, of course I want to start all the things. But that's just not how my brain operates. If I try to start like a million things, my brain goes and just, it cannot function whenever I do that. I mean, you know, just because I don't have that many whips doesn't mean that I don't have the desire to start every chart. And then the question might come up of, well, if you're not good planning on starting something right away, then how come you get all the charts right away? It's like, let's talk about FOMO, okay? So what is FOMO? That's FOMO. That stands for fear of missing out. Okay? I definitely experienced that, and I'm sure I'm not the only one. Some of it might be lingering from because I am a gamer, I do games on the computer. Well, I don't have my computer right now since we've been here in the camper, but normally I do. And I also do board gaming, and in board gaming it's kind of expensive to manufacture all the little pieces and things like that, and so it's kind of like, you know, the board games are kind of like fabrics in the cross stitch world. If you see one and you know you want it, you need to get it, because if you don't, the next time that it's done being manufactured, it could be a while before there is a print run, and there may not be another print run. So all of a sudden, you know, something that was, you know, $40 or $50 all of a sudden skyrockets to $200 or $300 because it's out of print. And so when I see charts that I know that I like, even though I don't have immediate plans to stitch them, I want to have them so that when I'm ready to stitch them, I don't have to worry about trying to find that chart. And so yeah, some people might experience that with, like what I said, fabrics. I could very easily see it happening with fabrics because there are a lot of high demand colors, and while you may not immediately have a plan for it, you want to have it in your stash or whatever. Now, I'm kind of limited on my space, so I don't have a whole lot of stash when it comes to having extra fabrics. I mean, like, I do, but not like a lot. I want to say I have probably under 20 pieces of fabric in my stash, where if I want to try and kit something, I can see if I might have a piece that could possibly work. But I don't have anything like, you know, a whole literal linen closet full of random pieces of all kinds of sizes and counts and colors, and or like, I mean, and I do have a lot of flosses, but all of the ones that I have are how'd you call it, currently being claimed already for certain projects, and I have very little that's not in use to anything. Like what's up on here on my rack, I think I have like 15 flosses that are not called for anything that I've got right now, and all the rest are called for and I consider not safe for use until those projects are done. But yeah, FOMO. Tell me in the comments below if you experience that. When you see something that you like, do you have to get it right away? Are you able to put it into your wish list and kind of plan out and maybe budget better to be able to get it into your stash? Or do you not experience it at all? Tell us about it down in the comments. Alrighty, and so Let Love Rain will be a 2023 start for me, and probably also a finish. But yeah, I mean, I kind of have to say that because, yeah. Okay, so also I'm planning another 2023 start already, and this one just kind of happened. I've gotten myself prepared for another stitch along already because I'm kind of a sucker that way, and this I think is probably going to be my only stitch along for 2023. I mean, I say that, but the chances are I might end up getting sucked into another one. But the Pansy Patch Quilts and Stitchery Peppermint Lane series. Okay, this is going to be another stitch along hosted by Fat Quarter Shop in 2023. I don't know if they've actually decided on a start date for it or not, but I saw these and I was like, yes. So let me go ahead and go through the charts for you. There's 9 of them, and you can either stitch them all together in as one design, and it looks gorgeous that way, or you can do them individually as pillows or whatever, and they look very nice that way too. So now I'm in the dilemma that between now and then I need to figure out which way that I want to go, because I like both ways. And Yeah, so I don't know. I have to think about that. But the first one is the Peppermint house. That's this one. Second one is the gingerbread house, and I like this one because it's the most Christmassy, and it's got a reindeer, and you know how I am about Christmas and reindeer, and so yeah, that's my favorite house, is the number 2. The number 3 is the sugar cookie house. It's so cute. Okay, the number 4 is the tea house. The number 5 is the cranberry house. The number 6 is the pinwheel house. 7 is the pomegranate house. I'm trying to hold these so there's minimal glare. 8 is the needleworker house. And 9 is the Christmas house, and this one's also Christmassy with a reindeer and Santa's sleigh up there, so I like this one too. Okay, and so when Kimberly was talking about this a couple weeks ago, she also showed some fabrics that you can use. The called for fabric is a 36 count Oaken by Picture This Plus, and I could tell you there is a lot of different fabrics that will work good for this. I think that earthen will work good. Vintage country mocha will look good. Gingerbread could look good maybe if yours is not as darker. There's just all kinds of color fabrics that will work good for that. But she showed a 36 count fox and rabbit Duxbury on that video. Now this is a linen, and I have never stitched on linen before, so I'm kind of scared about this. So I will be stitching on linen for the first time for this stitch along. You guys are going to see that as I do this. And I was like, but I saw her show this, and I was like, oh my gosh, that color looks perfect for this series. And I have heard nothing but amazing things about fox and rabbit linen. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to give it a try. All right. And so when I got this, I am definitely very pleased with how this looks. I mean, there's not like huge slubs in there anywhere. The fabric feels nice. It has a good thickness to it, like it's not too thin. And I can actually see the holes on this easier than I can see the holes on my 28 count Haunted by Picture This Plus. I mean, that sounds kind of weird because 36 count is quite a bit smaller than 28 count. But with Picture This Plus, their stuff kind of shrinks quite a bit whenever they dye it, and then also with it being dark. And so I think that I'm going to be able to work on this linen just fine when I go to start this series. So I am excited. This is going to be something new for sure that I do in 2023, is stitching on linen for the first time. Now, I was talking to my friend a couple days ago. I told her, you know, the reason that I don't stitch on linen, it isn't at all because that I think it's ugly or, you know, whatever else might be going on. It's just you know, that's not it, because I think that there's a lot of linens that are just absolutely beautiful, and there are certain projects that I think definitely look a lot better with the linen than I think that they would look on other kinds of fabrics. But like, I've only gotten back into cross stitch like 2 years ago, maybe 2.5 years ago, and I had just only found out about even weaves like Luganas and stuff at that time. And so I've kind of worked up to, you know, getting over the fear of the linen, and I'm ready, guys. I'm ready to give this a try. But this is, oh my gosh. Now, the last time that I checked, Fat Quarter Shop does still have some of this on their website. They were sold out of the 40 count. They only had 2 or 3 pieces left of this 36 count. They also have it in 32 count, though I don't know how much. But if you would like a piece of this, it's available on the Fat Quarter Shop website. I just don't know how long that they'll have it in stock and how long it might take for them to get it back in stock. But I like this. I think that it will go good with the Peppermint Lane. So that is my plan for it. And so yeah, if you like this, go ahead and get a piece. But if you want to go with something else, there's a lot of other things that will work with it too. And also the last thing, because I don't want to forget to tell you, there is a free border chart available for if you want to do them all as one piece. So, I mean, there's no way you're going to be able to stitch off of this. I mean, not even in person, you can't tell what it looks like. This is off of this came off of their website. Their website is Pansy Patch Quilts and Stitchery.ca. The direct link to this PDF of the border chart is actually on the page for the Peppermint Lane series on the Fat Quarter Shop website. And so you just scroll down to where it says what flosses that you need and all of that, and it'll give you a link to get, it'll say something like, for more information about this Peppermint Lane series, click here, and that's what you get. Click on to go and get the border chart. I will tell you that I think it's meant to be printed out on like size A paper. Well, maybe not. Well, the chart's kind of tiny on regular size, you know, 8.5 by 11, what we have here in the United States. The top page is micro tiny. I don't think it's meant to be stitched off of by anybody. I think that it's just basically kind of like a layout, because the pages, they don't exactly, it's kind of, you'll see what I mean when you go to print it out. The pages, you have to lay them out in kind of a funky way for them to be all like, it's kind of like putting together a puzzle. You can see it and the symbols are clear, but you might want to print it out on, like I said, the A size paper, or maybe 11 by 17, just to make the squares bigger and easier to see. But if you have a magnifier, you might be able to be okay with the 8.5 by 11. And then also on the website, it's not like, you know, you click the link and you're automatically at the PDF and can download and print it out. It's something that you have to add into your cart, and then once you're in the cart, you need to put in like your name and your email. I mean, there's a spot for your phone number too, but I skipped that. And you have to actually check out. Now, it doesn't cost anything. It's totally free, so there's no like hidden fees or anything like that. But you do have to go through that process. And then once you do, they'll immediately give you a link right there in your browser to download and print it out. And they'll also send you a link to your email. Now, the link that they send you to your email, that's only good for 24 hours before it expires. So make sure that once you get it, you get it saved to your computer if you're not going to print it out right away. Just a heads up. It's kind of weird how they set it up that way. I don't know. But just a heads up. Make sure that you either print it out right away or get it saved. And yeah, that was kind of a little bit of a longer one today. But that is everything today. Guys, thank you so much for watching. And I will see you back here next Wednesday. Bye.